Hello and welcome to sim.bc, where right now is 1:42, mates. Yeah, it's in the middle of the night. Yet again, we're doing it in the middle of the night. Why? Well, because why not? Well, yeah, all them planning, mates, all them structures. You must think that I'm all over the place, but basically, mates, I have nothing else better to do here, right? I'm just studying, I'm just working, I'm just reading up on stuff. Now I'm actually gonna meet some friends tonight. It's gonna be all nice, it's gonna be all good, mates. It's gonna be all amazing. This weekend has been amazed for me because turning 22 and stuff. Yeah, I know you probably view that in the news section because it was one of the most important news of the week. Am I right, people? Am I right? Of course I am. No, but anyway, mates, today we're going into chapter 2 because all of the shits and giggles aside, because this is quite an extensive chapter. This chapter 2 about branding and understanding your brand, because there were lots of things to do. I have a list here that I'm going to read off my tablet. It's going to be all amazing, mates. It's going to be all good. So without any further ado, mates, let's get into it. So, understanding your brand. The first thing about understanding your brand, I would argue, is the value proposition, or I would argue, the chapter would argue, is the value proposition. What are you actually going to give your customers? Sure enough, it starts with the core values. We're going to discuss them too, but the value proposition, what is it that you're actually going to sell? How do you differentiate yourself from the competition when it comes to your value proposition? So basically, mates, if you're selling shoes has been in the making for centuries, right? Everywhere you look in the history books, people are having shoes on their feet. It's all good, it's all fine. But how are you going to actually enter the market nowadays when all them shoes are out there? You need to do something explicit, you need to do something efficient, you need to do something else, something that's out there, something that nobody else has done before, and that's where your value proposition comes in. Maybe it's something that has to do with cutting edge, maybe it's the latest technology that you're focusing on, maybe it's a new segment that nobody has watched, maybe it's you're focusing millennials and you're picking a theme. Maybe you're saying, well, people all love phones, so why not making phone shoes? Something different. Or you're just going low cost and try to enter the market that way, but you have to have some sort of value proposition. And when you start, I would argue that differentiation is better than low cost, because low cost tends to be based on economies of scale, and then you need to have lots of investment to actually acquire that. So branding it is. Now, yeah, value proposition is basically almost always differentiation in the beginning. But then we're moving into the second most important thing, the position on the market. Because as we discussed yesterday, mates, the logo, sure enough, it is important. Or 2 days ago, actually. Sure enough, the logo is important. The logo is supposed to represent you, who you are, right? It's going to be easy to understand from when you just view them with your eye holes, right? That's covered in 2 days ago's video in chapter 1, so go watch that if you haven't. This is kind of a series, mates. But the brand is supposed to show your position on the market. And what is the difference there? Well, basically the logo is just saying, hello, I'm kind of good, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're represented by this, maybe we're very professional, maybe we're not, maybe we're very funny. But the brand is basically, who are we selling to? The logo is attracting them, but the brand is supposed to actually show who are we selling to, who are our customers, how do we show that in the market, our position on the market. Are we a supplier to B2B businesses? Are we something that goes to B2C? Are we business to consumer directly? Are we having the entire supply chain by ourselves? Are we actually something intermediate? Are we a retail store? Are we a supplier? Are we the customer in some cases to other companies? Where are you? What's your position on the market? How do you set your prices? Is it competitive prices? Is it economic prices? Is it premium prices? We've covered that in a video as well. How do you set your prices, and how in regards to your competition? That will all evaluate your position on the market, also in regards to who your target customers are. And this should be done before the logo. Why? Well, because you need to come up with the core values, mates, because the branding is all about your core values. What are the core values? What are the core values for you? And in order to understand your core values, we're going to go through a list here, mates, that I have prepared from the chapter itself. The six fast questions that you can ask yourself in order to understand, or help you to understand, what is the brand, what can the questions to ask yourself about you that can influence the brand, so that the core values that the company develops feels natural to you. And the first one is, do you see yourself as a fun or more serious person? The second one, which describe you better, a business with methodical planning or one which acts spontaneously? Third one, are you modern or cutting edge, or do you lean towards the traditional? Fourth one is your company in the early stages, or have you been established for some time on the market? Fifth one then goes out to, do you want to give off a friendly and personable vibe, or would you rather stay professional or more corporate? Something that you can show off in your logo, mates, but you have to understand this in your brand already before you make the logo to actually make a good logo. The sixth one, sorry mate, the last one is your service available to the masses, or do you have a particular niche or an elite in mind? So are you targeting just a specific target, like a specific segment, a very small segment, but maybe a highly profitable segment? Or are you just giving it out to the masses? Everybody wants some phone shoes. Am I right, people? Am I right? Or is it people within a certain price range? Or are they people with a certain needs for, well, I'm having my shoes, mates, but I would love to have a display on there so that I can watch the internet and stuff, you know, watch YouTube videos, watch sim.bc. Am I right, people? When I'm out jogging, because I want to do this when I'm out jogging. No, but you need to find, is it a niche segment or is it to the masses? Quite extraordinary thing, quite an important question to ask, and from that I can say that you will build your value proposition as well. But that's all about the core values. Understanding yourself and what you want to do before you move forward, that is basically the core values. Understanding yourself in order to understand the business, how branding benefits you and your business. And how is it? Well, understanding your core values should spread through all of your actions. What do I mean with this? Well, basically, if you brand yourself and you try to market yourself on the market, so to say, if you try to market yourself, you probably try to get in touch with some suppliers that are actually having some kind of similar core values as you do. If you're focusing on a very niche segment, maybe look into, are there some suppliers that are already giving out services or products or something else that is already entertaining this segment? If it is to the masses, well, which is the biggest supplier on the market that I can realistically work with? Because that's kind of important too, because you just don't want to be the guy, right, or the business who goes out and say, I want to work with the biggest supplier on the market, and they say, well, then you have to do all of these things that we ask you to, and you're like, no, that's not realistic at all, mates. That's okay, sure, but whatever. You want to go with something that's realistic yet again, you know, keeping in mind your New Year's resolution. Having a video on that too. I mean, I am advertising me ass off here. A good brand is a brand that people tell their friends about. That is kind of important, because how much marketing you do, however much marketing you do, however much you throw stuff in people's faces, most of it honestly going to deflect. Maybe they take in some subconsciously. I don't have enough expertise in the area to understand to make a statement about that. I've heard some people would say, argue that, well, it doesn't. Then equally as many people say, no, it doesn't. So that's a hard bargain to tell. But if you just throw things at people without any hesitation, then a lot of things, I would argue, slides off, because they get overwhelmed, they get exhausted with marketing. But if you have a good market, if you have a good brand, good core values, right, people will go into your store or take part of your service, and they will start telling their friends about it. And that is so great, because when your friend is telling you something, you know that they probably don't want to screw you over. But when the TV tells you something, you're sitting there like, what's the hidden agenda here? Why are they selling me this to a low price? Is it something that I'm missing? Some information that I've gotten out on. But when your friend comes along, you're almost certain that this friend is probably going to make something that's good for you, probably going to benefit the both of you. So they're saying, well, have you heard about this brand? It's amazing. And you're like, oh my god, is it? And they're like, yeah. And you're all good, all fine. And another thing is that if this person is saying something, that's showing that they're already into it. They've already bought and committed to this brand. And so you can do it too. That's why you want to have a good brand perception that make people want to tell their friends about it. And that's where your core values, I would say, more than anything, more than the value proposition, more than your position on the market, comes in. Because what do people rely on? Rather, what do people identify with? Do they identify with the numbers? Sure, at sometimes they do, mates. Numbers can sway the persuasion over, so to say, if it's prices. But what do people actually identify with? They identify with stories, they identify with values, they identify with people. And if you show yourself as a person, and if you show your business as a person, and as something that's personal, something that has core values that people can actually care about, and specifically in this niche little market here, or something that just everybody can relate to if you're going through the masses, you're having struck gold, because this is what people will be talking about, and that will just give you lots of free marketing, helping your branding and your position, mates. It's important. And in today's world, all businesses that deals even remotely with people are known as part of the people-pleasing business. It's a selling concept, hence your brand. You're selling your concept, hence you're selling your brand. And what do I mean with this? Well, 20 years ago, or no, earlier than that, 100 years ago, let's say, people were always saying like, oh, the people in retail stores, they're so much into business, it's totally a people's pleasing business. Hard to say, man. It's people-pleasing business, people-pleasing business, people-pleasing business. Yeah, it's all about the retailers because they care about the service. When you go in there, they just attack you like, hello, do you need help with something? And I'm like, no, I actually don't. I'm fine by myself, right? Just go away. Let me do my shopping in peace. But now what they mean here in the chapter is that everybody who's even remotely connected to some sort of, human interaction are part of the people-pleasing business. Oh my days, I made it. Happy me. So that means people in banks, but that's, arguably, but people suppliers that are just supplying different parts to a third-party developer or something. They're in the competition because they're in there talking to people. They're in there, even if they're just developing a certain part of a machine, they're still talking and selling this part to other people, right? To other businesses, but the people at those businesses are the people that they're in contact with. So it's quite important yet again that those suppliers or whatever are talking to their friends and their contacts to actually spread the rumor about your good brand. So branding is not all about your value proposition and your position on the market and your core values. Your branding is also equally as much, and I don't know if this is taken up in the chapter, but I would argue that it is, and I will, if you read between the lines, it is also equally as important for the branding that your core values, your value proposition, and your position on the market is translated in a positive sense to people outside of your company, to the customers, to the people in relation to you, so that they talk about it and strengthen your position. So ending this, mates, this went rather smoothly, I would say, probably because we had so many things to talk about. Hope I don't overwhelm you or skip through anything quite fast, because I felt like I did. I could probably spend like a video on each of these things. But yeah, ending this off, mates, tomorrow in the next chapter we will be looking at how to connect the logo that we've been talking about to the brand, and both seamlessly and effortlessly. Hopefully that's what it's going to be about, because that's what they said it was going to be about in the end of chapter 2, mate. So I'm out here, right? I'm out on thin ice as much as you are. I'm just hoping that it's good. And so far, really liking it. They have some humor as well when they write about it, even if they have some directional things saying like, oh, when you make your logo at Tailor brands, and I'm like, well, you should have just said made your logo, but I understand it's marketing for you, mates. It's all good, it's all fine, and it's written so well. Yet again, the examples, I love the examples. Yet again, purposely didn't use the examples that I used in the text, because I totally think you should give it a read. Not sponsored yet again. But yeah, we will discuss this in the end review of all the chapters. That was all for me, mates. Have a nice one, and I'll see you tomorrow with the next chapter review. Have a nice one, mates.